can see that, well, the stock market had those selling swoons, but was able to make gains after each of them. Here the tech stocks were weak and weighed on the NASDAQ here on Monday. That knocked it down. Bank of Japan came out and tweaked their policy. They're going to stay long-term with negative interest rates. That gave a little bit of boost to the markets overnight because they love all of this fiat money being printed, which brings all this financial engineering that raises stock prices. Mnuchin came out and says trade talks with China were ongoing, which turned out to be a bunch of crap. And right over here, just hours later, the president came out and threatened those 25% tariffs, up from 10% on $200 billion in China imports. Japanese bonds, they went crazy right over here, and Bank of Japan did nothing, so bonds fell sharply. Our bonds took a hit with that. Then we had an attempted rally here on Wednesday, and then the market gave ground. Everybody was waiting for Tesla earnings. They showed a slower burn rate in there. They lost $717 million. That's after subsidizing the cars that they sold with our money, and still losing that kind of money. And I'll show you that chart just a little later on. Here's another time when Japanese bonds were wild, yields spiking on a very poor auction there. China stocks fell sharply on liquidity issues and more trade war fears. So we had a big decline overnight. But then with Tesla rallying strongly right over here and Apple up another 3% on its earnings, you can see that market screamed, and the NASDAQ really led the market up right over here. Payrolls came out with a miss that only shook up the market for a few minutes, and then it started to rise here again on Friday. So we have this with about 2 hours to go in the market here on Friday. We're getting some modest gains again. I want to take just a few minutes to talk to you about our new video workshop, the 5 essential building blocks to successful trading. Well, it isn't exactly new, as I've given it a lot of times live, but I wanted to make it easier for people to benefit from our work and put it into a video series. This is not like any workshop that you've ever seen before. We don't, advertise that we're going to give you the winning system, that system that gives you the 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000% return on the trade. This is much more different. It's about you, or really it's about me, because what I give in here is an expose of my 42-year history, talk a lot about the lessons I learned and, well, the pain or the challenges I suffered along the way to learn the lessons, so that you don't really have to do that. You can learn from what I experienced. This talks about the forces that are within me that really brought volatility in my history as a trader, and that may actually be doing the same thing for you, or many other things that may be challenges for you in trading. So in the intro, I give you all that history about me, and then I tell you what's coming in the next 5 videos, which I'm going to do right now briefly, give you a little bit of idea. Here is the 5 essential building blocks to successful trading. So in building block number 1, we talk about the underlying causes to the success-failure cycle. That cycle where, you're doing really well and all of a sudden you get into a slump. There's often forces within us that, bring poor decision making. I share mine, what those negative forces are and what has, really driven me to, a lot of emotional swings throughout, especially the early part of my career. And I help you find that about you, what brings these repeated behaviors that bring challenges to you in trading. Building blocks number 2 is about the reactions that we have, those emotional reactions. They're often really strong. That goes really hand in hand with what we talk about in building block number 1. That stress, the disappointment, that negative self-talk, the feelings of fear or shame or anger when things start to go wrong. So what we talk about and what we do in here is give some really good processing about how to build emotional fitness. That's really what number 2 is. Number 3 is, matching style, method, and personality. And what that means is that, well, we often struggle with style and knowing what, the right vehicle is for us to trade. And then, when we try to figure out what's right, we're not exactly sure how to match up those analytical tools. Also, there's sometimes mismatches in our personality and our experience in the market and our account size and our risk parameters that we designed for ourselves. So this is all about getting balance. And once you find that balance, actually, that really helps with what we talk about in the previous building blocks, about the things that trigger those emotional reactions that could really get us into some trouble. Building block number 4 is about discipline. We look at 6 areas of discipline. It's not only about taking losses properly. So what we look for is getting in the right mind frame to be really focused. That helps us really stay on a plan that we build. And when we do that, we really can build greater knowledge. So the more discipline we have in all areas of our life, and that's what we really talk about, is discipline in life and in trading in this section. That really helps us to be a much better trader, much calmer, much more balanced in our life. Building block number 5 is about designing that plan, that unique plan, the basic design, understanding the win-loss ratio that we need to have to be successful, and about, reasonable expectations of returns, and how having, unreasonable expectations can really throw off our level of success. And it's about how to create that winning formula, the unique one for you. So, all of this really has got an overlay to it. It's all about keeping ourselves totally balanced and really helping us with how our emotions might get in the way of that. So that's really the overlay. It's about this being in balance and everything about our approach to trading, everything that we learn about trading, the way we engage in the markets based on who we are, and about how we can keep ourselves from getting set off by the emotional triggers. Really about being the best trader that you can be. All the things that we're going to cover in here, you might hire a coach or go into some programs and spend thousands and thousands of dollars for the type of things that we're going to talk to you about in this. This is nothing like that. I mean, a couple $100 is an unbelievable amount of money to pay for the incredible amount of knowledge that we're going to share. Every one of these videos has got a worksheet that comes with it. You'll be able to do some homework around integrating the things that we're talking about. There is really an unbelievable amount of information in here to really help you get balanced. I mean, we really wanted to keep it very affordable. And I share with you the experience that I've had in 42 years. As I said earlier, this is about you being the best trader that you can be through the lessons that I've learned in trading in the markets and through integrating many other aspects of the lessons that I've had in all this period of time. I think you'll find it amazing, especially for this incredibly low price. Go to the Ask Slim website, go up to workshops, click on the 5 essential building blocks to successful trading, and you will see there more of this information, and you'll be able to sign up right there for this reasonable price. I really hope that you take the time to take this great 6-video series. This is what happened. The possible breakdown right over here was false right here, as we had the early sell-off that just brought in a lot of buyers right there on Thursday. We had that big move up after it had moved down on the tariff news, and then the market got right back up here to the 78.6%. So this is a tough area for it. Last week I said that it would trade in a range, and I said that the range 27.94 to 28.35. The low was 27.96. The high, well, right now is a 28.36. So I missed it by 2 points on both sides. Pretty unusual, where I had expected that kind of a range, and it was practically spot on. So what can I do for you this week? Well, I think it's this right in here. In other words, a little further attempted rally, but then giving some ground. And again, I'm going to call a narrow range in here. This area right up over here, 28.43, looks like a where it's going to run into some trouble. And then you could see the slim ribbon giving it this rising support up this way. We're going to call that around 28.05 or so on the bottom. So it's kind of this range that we're looking at right in here right now. We don't think that it's going to make a lot of upside progress. I still think that this shape in here is worrisome. And we're getting a Russell pattern. I usually don't show you the Russell, but the Russell is extraordinarily weak, and I'm going to show you that pattern right in here just so you get a sense, where it's failing at that resistance zone, giving you this huge down day in here. Well, not so huge, 10 points. It was worse. And so it's really showing a lot of weakness, and it's in negative momentum right now. So with that, you know, being a signal, and the Russell, which was the driver, sorry, got to move in here, really is giving me some sense that we're going to be kind of stuck between the resistances here and this upward momentum and rising phase here. It's likely to keep us in a tighter range for the week. Trouble at 28.43, and then at that next level right there, which is 28.49. So you can see we have that area as where we think it's going to stop and then move lower, and then the slim ribbon holding it up in here. So we don't think there's a breakout or breakdown in the coming week. There's just no news that seems like it's going to really affect the markets right now in any significant way.
Going to the city and I'm gonna do a steady show. And I know all my fans wanna learn how to make some dough. I've been